Hi, and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with
Dan.
Chris.
And Lee.
You're back.
I am.
Have a good time away?
It was pretty good, yeah. Thanks to Sian for stepping in last week as well.
I'm sure she'll be happy to do it anytime any of us can't make it. And she might have to sort of take over the editing after last week. I just want to apologise for turning Dan into some kind of android.
Are you sure that was you?
Yes, as it turned out, the technical difficulties that I didn't think I'd had when I put the Jacques Villeneuve insert in, I did have, and I would also like to apologise to Zach Henderson for putting the Don't Say It Baby interlude in, and he thought it was his ex-girlfriend calling him because that's what he set a ringtone as, so he knows exactly what to do when she calls.
Whoops-a-daisy.
That's genius.
It's okay. We've both fucked it in the matter of a week because I fucked Musty Audio as well by doing exactly the same thing you did this week.
Yeah, but having Don't Say It Baby as like an ex ringtone, that's amazing because nobody will want to answer Jacques Villeneuve when he starts singing at you like that.
Though you do want to stop him from singing.
Yeah, so you cancel the call. Call cancelled.
That would probably work.
London Chris used to let his song play because it was a Kiss song. He would let it play and before he answered it. So if you called him, you knew you had to wait a good minute before he would answer.
Just so it got to the guitar solo.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Formula One.
McLaren.
Well, we do have some stuff on McLaren, but not.
We do, but that's a little bit further down. The first thing is, it's looking more and more likely that Pascal Wehrlein is going to be driving a Toro Rosso next year.
Yeah.
Weird one?
No, I don't think so. It's been announced that he's been released from the Mercedes family, despite the fact he's just won the DTM championship with Gary Paffett.
But Mercedes aren't going to be in DTM anymore, so they have nothing that they can do with him.
Yeah.
And as the saying goes, if you love someone, set them free. If they love you, they'll come back. He's off to Toro Rosso. He doesn't love them.
No.
No, I mean Pascal Wehrlein wasn't a terrible Formula One driver, was he? By any means.
He had a bad Sauber. No one really knows. It's one of those, isn't it?
He was in a Manor, wasn't he?
Oh, was it Manor, was
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
It was in a Manor
driver.
first, and then he was.
Yeah, then he went to Sauber.
Then he went to Sauber. It was in two badly designed and underpowered
Was it him and
cars.
NASA? NASA were in Sauber
Him
at
and
that point.
No, him and Ericsson.
Him and Ericsson. It was Ericsson and NASA that were driving together at Sauber, and they didn't get on.
God, Ericsson's been in that Sauber a long time, hasn't he, when you think about it?
Yeah, since about 2013, something like that, 2014.
It's funny because you think of him as a new driver, don't you, still?
Well, he kind of is this season because you're seeing him do things that he's
I've
never
seen
done
him drive,
before,
but-
like drive,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
not spin it on a straight.
we're waiting, aren't we, for Toro Rosso to basically confirm that Danny Kvyat will replace Pierre Gasly. It looks like that's all been done now over the last week.
The current rumour is that it was a done and dusted deal in Singapore, but it's being announced, obviously, in Russia.
Well, with potential, I don't know what Russian time is or what they do or who they are other than a racing team, but apparently Russian...
Has anyone actually Googled this yet?
No, don't need to. It's fine. Russian time could have Kvyat back with this. Danny Kvyat has hired Nicholas Todd as a manager, which only weighs more heavily towards that he's going to be looking at a drive in a serious professional motorsport capacity. Probably Formula One and most likely Toro Rosso replacing Pierre Gasly, who's off to Red Bull. But the other seat that's up and available at Toro Rosso, not many people think Brendan Hartley's done enough to keep his seat.
I don't think he's done enough to keep his seat.
Dan Ticktum has lost the lead of the Formula 3 championship to one certain Mick Schumacher.
But didn't we say Dan Ticktum
And he won't have enough
the
points.
points
He won't have
anyway?
enough points. No, there was a mild rumor that Mick Schumacher could be off to Toro Rosso. Again, he won't have enough points. It's just that's not going to happen. And I think there are a lot of other big companies in the way of Mick Schumacher who have refusal before Toro Rosso say yes, please. So it looks like recently released Pascal Wehrlein might make his way to Toro Rosso to replace Brendan Hartley, and that I don't think is a terrible lineup.
No.
Wehrlein and Kvyat in the same team.
For a normal Formula One team, no, it's not. It's a solid midfield or towards the back of the field
I know,
lineup,
I know
isn't
you're
it?
going to say, I agree, yeah.
For Toro Rosso,
It's a bit
for-
strange.
for the team that is funneling drivers to Red Bull, it it is a bit weird.
It is a bit weird because Kvyat's. We never think Kvyat's going to be back in a Red Bull, do we?
I think we've now seen the end of Toro Rosso being there to put drivers into Red Bull.
I think so, yeah.
Just because next year's Red Bull team is going to be what Max will be 23.
Yeah.
Gasly is 22. They're not going anywhere for a while.
No, they won't be going anywhere for a long time.
The only way there would be changes there is if Gasly doesn't live up to expectations.
Yeah, and I think that that whilst that's entirely possible, I think it's more likely that Red Bull have plans to either sell Toro Rosso or sell themselves out of Formula One.
I think both are massively possible. And I can see Toro Rosso being shipped out because it doesn't make sense, I don't think, having like a feeder team. Because if you've got a car that can win, then you actually get a winning driver. Then all you're doing is what we keep saying Toro Rosso does, which is meat grinding talent.
Yeah.
So
It's ironic at the moment with the situation where you've got Mercedes with two young drivers that aren't going to be able to get a seat next season. And the only team on the grid that has got a team specifically for their young drivers doesn't actually have anyone on their young driver program qualified enough to drive the car.
Which is a direct result of them meat grinding their way through their drivers to get essentially Verstappen and Gasly, as it will be next year, into Formula One. When Verstappen came into Formula One age 17, they put the rule in that you must have a certain number of points on your license before you can apply for a Formula One super license.
And you've got to be 18 as
And
well.
you've got to be at least 18 to enter. I think you can be 17 to enter Formula One, but you have to be
No, they won't give you a super license now until you're 18.
well, they're not.
Nope.
I thought it was you have to turn 18 before the date of your first competition. So you could be 18 in January and still...
I believe you're right on that one.
yeah, so you can apply and get a super license at age 17,
But you can't race in
you
Formula
can't
1.
race in Formula 1 until you're 18.
My birthday's in January, so if I can go back 30 years.
it's all right. I'm over it. Does Verstappen rubbish the rule that brought him for him though? Because he came in at 17, and I think I've made my feelings quite clear about what I think about Verstappen and his chance of being world champion. But he's not suffered from coming into Formula One too early.
Because he's been mollycoddled more than any other driver, I would say.
Maybe, but when you've got like we say
I
about
don't
Tipton-
know. I mean, Hamilton was grown in a test tube by Ron Dennis.
Yeah, but Hamilton was 22, 23
Yeah.
when he came to Formula One.
Yeah. And he was young then.
and in his first season, effectively beat Fernando Alonso.
Yeah. Yeah, won 3 or 4 races in his first season in Formula One. Max is 4 seasons in now, and he's still 4 wins. And that's not his fault. It's just that he's very well protected, and I know I wasn't here for last week's Singapore review, but I completely agree with what Lee was saying about what happened between Sergio Perez and Sergei Sorokin. Had that been Max Verstappen that moved over and forced another driver,
crazy.
like I was appalled when I saw that. I was like, I cannot believe what I've just seen. Had that been Max Verstappen, there would have been, the Eagles would have swooped for him, the vultures would have come down for him, and
Grosjean's
not
head
left
would have been a
alone.
block.
Yeah,
Jean
Grosjean.
Todt would have had a little black mask on and an axe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but again, with Max Verstappen, had it been Max Verstappen, there are also a circle of people who will protect him, much like Vettel was protected a lot at Red Bull when he was.
To the detriment of Vettel now, I think.
I think so. Yeah. And so you got to ask yourself what long term that does to Max Verstappen. But the getting back to the Toro Rosso being a feeder team for Red Bull, I think that is ending, and I think it's ending because Red Bull are either going to sell Toro Rosso or they're going to just sell themselves out of Formula One by one of them becoming Team Honda and the other one becoming Aston Martin or something to that effect.
Well, you said you'd seen somewhere that Kvyat's return might have something to do with the back in of Russian time,
Yes.
who are in F2 at the moment. Now, could this be a sort of build-up
Russian
to Russian time buying Toro Rosso, and then we've got a Russian F1 team in there?
Russia's got the money. Do you know what I mean? If there's backing, like if you look at countries that can put money into something to back it, we've seen it before. Vitaly Petrov didn't get there through merit.
No.
And they also like using sport to promote the country.
Yeah,
So
I
if they
mean,
can get
you
Sorokin and
moving
Kvyat in
moving
that
away
team.
from Formula One. If you watch the Champions League coverage, that is sponsored by Gazprom. Gazprom are a wholesale industrial gas supplier that sell gas to companies that sell people gas.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, what's the point in them?
Sell gas to people.
Yeah, what's the point of them
Not
advertising?
sell people gas.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what's the point of them advertising to end users who can't even buy their product because they don't own a gas company?
No, it's like
product
BASF,
stinks.
isn't it? Like BASF, the chemical company, BASF.
Yeah.
Why do they advertise on TV? I can't buy anything from them.
You used to be able to buy BASF films, didn't you?
Videotapes. Yeah.
Videotapes, audio tapes, that's all called MTech now. You should know that.
I don't buy videotapes or audio tapes anymore.
Or digital backup tapes.
Yeah, but I mean, I can't. It's just like it's all very well looking at some pretty scientist shaking a flask and smiling at a colleague. I don't know what that means.
No.
I can't buy what they're doing.
I just don't. I don't understand Red Bull to a certain extent. Apart from I understand they've got all of the cash,
Yeah.
which is why they can do these things. But it surely it would make just as much sense for, especially when you consider you've got the Red Bull, Aston Martin, Tag Heuer, whatever it is this week. It would make more sense for them to have like the Red Bull Mercedes Benz. Do you know what I mean? They would still, just as a title sponsor, that's willing to put in a real heap of cash.
Like they used to with Sauber.
Yeah, but into like one of the top teams because they've been there.
Well,
that
yeah,
long.
the Red Bull Sauber Patronus.
Yeah.
Shame Sauber lost all the sponsors.
Yeah, all of them.
Sorry, the Red Bull Sauber Patronus Mercedes.
It was at one point.
Oh
actually.
yeah, it was Mercedes, wasn't it?
Yeah. In fact, Sauber brought Mercedes back into Formula One in '93.
Yeah, and then they buggered off to McLaren. But yeah, going back to Red Bull, I think the point of Toro Rosso is now getting less and less, and we're going to have two drivers in the car next year by the looks of things.
They're never going to make
That
it
are
to the main team.
never going to get into a Red Bull, or in Kvyat's case, again.
I can't help thinking.
And the
maybe,
the reason Kvyat was let go was not Matashitz, Helmut Marko said he's obviously not going to make it back to the main team, so we're letting him find his own way.
I don't even think it'd be that ridiculous to think he might make it back to the main team. When you look at what Red Bull have been like with drivers, all it's going to take is for Gasly to be crap, and all of a sudden they've got a guy that's already been in the main team, and if
Yeah.
he can perform reasonably well in Toro Rosso, there's no reason why they won't be sticking Gasly back down and him up.
Yeah, and a year off from Formula One could have made an awful lot of difference.
It'd also be interesting to see what clauses Verstappen's got in his contract if that Honda engine is a bag of spanners.
Yeah, I didn't actually think of that. I mean, at the moment in the back of the Toro Rosso, it's proving that it isn't.
Yeah, but it's still not proven
But-
it's going to win races.
But that's the other thing. And how's it going to fit in an Adrian Newey designed size 0 back end car?
Yeah.
Because I mean, we've talked about this before on previous shows. It's all fine and good having a car that you can design around the engine, but that's not the Adrian Newey way of doing things. You know, it's here's what I've drawn, make it fit, and the Honda needs a big back end.
I think it's a tough. I keep saying it. I think it's a tough job for Honda next year because anything less than third, like constructors table wise, is a failure.
Yeah.
Instantly because they've McLaren, Red Bull. Even if they drop back, say behind Renault or something like that, and Renault end up being like the third best team on the grid. If they fall behind them, instantly Honda are fucking shit.
Well, I mean, look at the constructors table now. You've got like Mercedes and Ferrari are well into like the 300s of points. You've got Red Bull into the 200s of points, and then I think in fourth place is Renault on like 91. The gap is so massive that it's not inconceivable that Red Bull with a Honda engine in the back of it could become a double point scoring team rather than a triple point scoring team at this point of the season next year. It just means that instead of having like a tier of 2, 1, and then the rest of the field is just going to be 2 and the rest of the field.
I don't think it's beyond realms possibility for Sauber to make a massive step forward next year.
And you probably noticed there's a jump cut. Hello.
Hello, it's Tuesday.
Of course it's Tuesday. The next bit that you're going to hear after this, we recorded Monday night before any announcements had been made, and just as we were about to start mixing it, this went and happened. Sean?
Yes, so I dropped you a message and I asked you, had you heard the news about Giovinazzi?
Yes. Sauber have only gone and confirmed him, and he is officially taking Charles Leclerc's seat. So that kind of proves that Kimi Raikkonen's deal was outside the Ferrari option where they can place one driver in the team.
Yes, because there's this understanding that Ferrari basically has a spot
Yeah.
at Sauber that they can place one of their drivers for development and code sharing or whatever it is.
Whatever it
that
is
they're
they
doing.
do.
Yes. So
Is
that's
code sharing still a thing?
in flight, I think. Yes.
Oh, right, okay. I was wondering where you were going with that.
I think I meant information sharing, and that's just what came out. I'm on earlies at work. It was it's acceptable. But yes, so
Yeah, Giovinazzi looks
Yeah.
to have signed a one-year deal. So you can throw your tinfoil hat on and wonder what's going to happen to Vettel after 2019, which we're about to talk about, which you'll hear from what we recorded last night. But we thought, since it's Tuesday, we couldn't let it by without a jump cut.
yes, but what do we think of Giovinazzi? Worthy of the seat?
I think he is. He was good in his debut in Australia in 2017. China, he struggled, but then again, everyone did. And I think where he actually went off, the track had been wet, because that was the year that they had to get the wooden bristle brooms out to sweep the water away.
It's kind of acceptable that you have the odd slip up
Yeah.
in your second race ever, as in a car that you hadn't really done that much work in.
Yeah, but it'll be exciting to see what he can do now in a Sauber that is able to perform and is able to get into Q3 and is able to finish in the top 10.
I think as well, this is probably this all but confirms that Haas are going to stick with their lineup, because who else would they go for?
Unless they want Ericsson's money. But
Well, that's very true. That's very true.
that could put him on the radar of Williams now.
Also true.
He has all the money, they need all the money.
Quite.
So this could mean that we don't actually see Artem Markelov get to drive a Formula 1 car because he said F1 in 2019 or retirement.
This would be a shame, because I like Markelov. He's entertaining.
He could be the next Davide Valsecchi.
He could be.
Make
he
of-
is a
make
bit
of
of
that
a
what you
character
will.
from what I can tell. So yeah, he could be quite an interesting one. But it would be nice to see him get a chance.
Yeah, definitely. Right, should we get back on with the normal podcast now?
Probably, yes.
Right, back to whatever it was we were talking about 18 hours ago.
It looks like they're going to have. Well, we do have a little bit of Sauber news coming up next as well. But the I wouldn't be surprised if Sauber unveil over the winter some extra, involvement or investment from sponsors or organisations extremely closely linked to Ferrari.
Shell or something like that.
Yeah, someone like that, along those lines. Especially as they're taking on Kimi Raikkonen, which, looks like he's not a direct swap for Charles Leclerc. Looks like he's going in to replace Marcus Ericsson. And
Because Ferrari still are saying they have the right to put a driver in, it's not Kimi, and that deal's been done completely separate.
I also don't believe Kimi's the man to just potter around in Formula One for 2 years. I think for him to decide to, because I know the
But
story.
it's a bit of romance, isn't it? He's going back to where it all started.
Well, his manager put out a statement over the weekend
Yeah,
saying,
but I think that bollocks.
well, he said the reason that he's going back is he wants to drive another F1 car. He likes driving in Formula 1.
Yeah, I'm sure he does like driving in Formula One. Don't get me wrong.
And apparently if he wasn't doing that, he'd start competing in motocross.
But I don't believe that he's going to go from Ferrari to a Sauber that he thinks is going to be dropping out of Q2.
He wouldn't have got into a manor.
No, so unless he's gone to Ferrari knowing that Ferrari are going to have a bigger say in that car next year.
Oh yeah, next year's Sauber I think is going to be. You're going to be looking at that being in contention for the fourth best car on the grid.
Yeah,
Yeah. And with that...
Possibly third.
Yeah,
If,
possibly.
If the Red Bull Honda package doesn't work, then yes.
And the other seat that Ferrari are saying they've still got to fill because they have, as part of their Alfa Romeo title sponsorship deal with Sauber, looks like it could be going to Antonio Giovinazzi. Giovinazzi, of course, did a couple of races. Was it last year or the year before?
It was when
Standing
Verline
in for Verline, yeah.
Yeah,
when Verline put his back or his neck out in the Race of Champions.
yeah, and Giovinazzi came in and did a pretty solid job for the two. All right, okay, he put it in
He did a solid job in the first race, and
he put it in the wall in China, but I don't mind seeing a driver crash occasionally. Means you're trying.
50% of races, that's occasional.
It's a bit more. If he becomes a bit of a Maldonado Grosjean sort of thing, then yeah, that's really bad for him and really bad for Sauber and Ferrari, Alfa Romeo, etc.
Do you think Ferrari have a secret squirrel option on Kimi for 2020?
What if Vettel leaves? You mean?
If Vettel leaves, if Leclerc doesn't work out, if Leclerc and Vettel in the same team don't work out, in the same way as when they took Van Dorn in with Alonso, they had Button sat there as a reserve driver just in case Alonso didn't make the end of the year.
it's not impossible.
It makes sense to the 2-year contract at Sauber.
Bearing in mind, Kimi will be 41 when in that 2-year contract
No,
finishes.
but it's let's just say,
But it'll be 40 in 2020, and if Vettel does what he did in after his last season in Red Bull and walks out of his contract a year early because he's getting schooled by his teammate, then it's not beyond the realms of possibility that Kimi comes back with one last shot in a Ferrari
Yeah.
as number one driver.
well,
I
would he
think
be
the
number one
difference
driver?
is
depends
that
how good Leclerc is.
Exactly.
Vettel wouldn't have as many options for places to go.
Vettel to Sauber.
If Vettel walks out,
Unless
from,
there's a Hamilton.
if Vettel walks
roundabout
from
type thing.
Ferrari, don't forget Bottas has only got another 1-year deal.
We also keep. Do you see Bottas as a direct replacement for Sebastian Vettel?
No.
No, I see Bottas ending up back in Williams and Vettel sat in the other Mercedes.
Do you think?
Because, all right, you're Toto Wolff.
Yeah.
You've got Lewis Hamilton tied up until 2021 at least, with options for more.
Yeah.
You've got Valtteri Bottas on a contract for the 2019 season, with the possibility that you might be able to take him on for 2020. It's September 2019. Vettel says he's leaving Ferrari at the end of the season.
Yeah.
You go to Vettel with your bloody checkbook out.
No, you don't.
No, you pick someone who's going to work better because
You pick one of your young drivers. You pick Ocon or you pick George Russell.
yeah, you don't want to. I don't think Mercedes want a repeat of the Rosberg Hamilton.
And
year.
why would you do it? Like Vettel has had the best car this year, and Hamilton has beaten him so far.
Yeah, they still want Mercedes. I think still want a German driver in the car.
I think that
A
dream's,
real German, not third of a German.
I think that dream's gone now. I think Hamilton's scuppered that dream because they're not going to get a German that's as good as Hamilton.
Yeah.
At
At the moment, I would say that Vettel has been at points in a complete class of his own during his Formula One career, but this season he's made too many mistakes, and it's starting to show in the championship standings. The fact that Hamilton is now 40 points ahead of Vettel, that gap wouldn't be 40 points if Vettel maybe made some smarter decisions at some points.
We've also got that thing because we keep saying that Kimi's having a good year. Although he's not having the results maybe that show how well he's driving.
But he is driving
Yeah,
well, and
he's
if you're
driving
watching
well.
the races, you can see that in
But
a way
are
you
we-
can't from the results.
But are we thinking that Kimi's better because he's got closer to Vettel, or has Vettel dropped back towards Kimi?
I think it's 50-50.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If I'm a Formula One driver, if I'm a Formula One team owner right now, Vettel's not on my shopping list.
But it means always saying that the Sauber 2019 driver lineup.
It's got Vettel in it.
Well, no, 2019 is going
Well,
to be
2020.
Kimi, isn't it? And probably by looking at recent reports coming out of Italy and also Switzerland as well, it could be Antonio Giovinazzi. If we're looking at the potential for, I mean, it's a small potential, but the potential for the 2019 Sauber driver lineup to be the 2020 Ferrari driver lineup.
I think that's unlikely.
Well, BRM in the 70s had Niki Lauda and Clay Regazzoni driving for them, and they both moved up to the Ferrari team.
Yeah, but Regazzoni asked for Lauda to come with him. A better thing would be the big Benetton and Ferrari swap.
in the 2000s.
95.
95 was it? Sorry.
Alesi and Berger.
Yeah, Alesi and Berger went to Benetton. Schumacher went to Ferrari with all of the senior members of the
Yeah.
Benetton team.
Yeah, I think I think that Ferrari's gone. Like, I think that philosophy of, because it was all, what did they always say, that Ferrari don't make world champions, they hire them. Yeah, and between Vettel and Alonso and them signing Leclerc, that, like, hiring the world
They've moved to
champions,
making them.
hiring world champions hasn't worked. So not only that, they're now promoting one of the other junior drivers to their sort of B team. They've got one of their junior drivers now in the main team. This is such a non-Ferrari move. It's unreal.
Kimi is staying in Sauber for 2 years
Yeah.
while Mick Schumacher matures.
I think you're right. I think if because I know Mercedes have got a hand in Mick Schumacher, but if he's coming into Formula One, he's coming into it in a Ferrari. I'm convinced of it.
Difficult one to call, isn't it?
Maybe the 2020 Ferrari lineup could be Leclerc and Schumacher, because I think it's pretty much nailed on that Schumacher's going to be racing in an F2 next year,
Yeah.
and he's probably going to be in a Prema. And when Prema have got a good driver, they won the GP2 title.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's still up in the air whether just how good Mick Schumacher
I was going to
is.
say, yeah, don't forget this is Mick Schumacher's second year in Formula 3, because
Yeah.
his first year he was not brilliant.
And he's not ripping it apart this year. You know, he's doing well.
He's just taken the lead of the championship.
I mean, the last 2 race weekends with 3 races in each, he's been on pole for all the last 6 races and won 5 of them. Dan Ticktum's actually wondering where he's suddenly got this from. Not that he's saying that the team are cheating or anything, but it's very mysterious how all of a sudden he's come from being average to just being that far out front.
I don't know. I don't
That's
watch
conspiracy theory.
I don't
isn't it?
watch Formula 3, so I wouldn't like to comment on it. But
I was watching Formula 3 this weekend, and Mick Schumacher is good in the wet.
yeah, I'll be interested to see him in F2 next year. You know, it'll be good to watch.
What do we think about, for the immediate future, Giovinazzi's potential move to Sauber? He will clearly be going as an understudy to Kimi.
I think it's a good move. I think it's a better move than keeping Ericsson.
Well, the thing is with Giovinazzi, if he moves to Sauber, there's a lot that he can learn from Kimi.
Yeah.
And he can learn a lot more in a race seat than he could hanging around the paddock, driving a simulator, and maybe getting the odd Friday morning.
I mean, you say there's a lot you can learn from Kimi. Do we really think Kimi's the mentor type?
I think he is.
It's hard to tell what the real Kimi is.
Yeah, this is true.
Especially if he's having a part, that team is going to go to him, and it's in his best interests that the drivers.
I think we'll
that
find
are
out what-
there after his 2 years are up.
I think we'll find out more of what the real Kimi is next month when the English translation of his autobiography comes out.
Yeah.
Because at the moment it's only available in Finnish.
Okay. Didn't Riva Bene say something quite hilarious today?
We can still win the title.
No,
We can still win both titles.
No, it was a question about Kimi Räikkönen, and it's just like, you shouldn't take Kimi Räikkönen so serious in press conferences, because he likes to have fun, and I like to have fun too. So, talking about when he was dropped from the team, he said, "Do you would you believe me if I told you Homer Simpson dropped him from the team?" So it's like, well, no, of course you wouldn't. But then that got me thinking of the Simpsons episode where Homer cuts everyone from the baseball team.
Yeah.
Cut. Raikkonen, you're cut. Which is probably how Ferrari do their cullings. They just watch that episode of the Simpsons and just cut everyone.
But yeah, I think Giovinazzi can learn a lot from Kimi, and it'll be good experience for him, and it'll actually show whether the potential's there or not.
It's a cracking benchmark.
Yeah, it was very hard to see from the 2 races that he had with Sauber before, because
Let him get his feet under the table.
yeah,
if
they,
he is going to be a
they
driver.
weren't in the best position.
Well, the
last
first race, wasn't he called up on the Friday?
No, Saturday morning.
Saturday morning, was it? He was told that he
Yeah,
was
yeah.
racing.
Yeah,
so that's
it
not
was
a whole lot of prep time.
Yeah, it was just before FP3, and the announcement got made just as my dishwasher flooded the kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah, Verline did FP1 and FP2 and was miles off the pace and said, I'll see how I feel tomorrow morning, and felt no better in the morning.
And then
So-
couldn't get out of bed.
Yeah, and then couldn't get out of bed. So basically, they said, right, you're out of the. Verline essentially stepped aside and said, look, put somebody else in the car. I'm not fit enough to drive.
Actually, a broken back isn't a good prep for driving a Grand Prix.
Well, he didn't know at that point that his back was broken.
Was
It
that from the Race of Champions?
Yeah, when he
him and Massa, wasn't it?
rolled it.
Wasn't it? Wasn't it him
It
and
was
Felipe
him and
Massa?
Massa, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but no, I'd like to see what Giovinazzi could do, but he can't be worse than Ericsson has been at his lowest.
Ericsson is worst as crashing into Nasser 4 seconds off the pace. That's just, you don't want that at all.
I mean, I've been pleasantly surprised by Ericsson this year, but he's never going to make it to a big team.
No, I mean
He's just taken. He's got a big wedge of cash behind him.
Yeah.
and he's taken a seat that could be like a
Ferrari,
real Formula One
Ferrari
drivers.
or Alfa Romeo are about to give Marcus's mates
Yeah.
a big wad of money to go. Thanks a lot, boys. Now fuck off.
Fuck off. Yeah, it could be good for Williams. I
Ericsson.
can see Ericsson as a Williams driver.
Maybe taking a Swedish cash to Williams,
Yeah, it replaced the Canadian money that they're going to be losing out on.
but they're also going to have a lot of Russian money from Sergei
Until the
Sorokin.
Russian time team comes along.
Yeah,
And take Sorokin
Ah,
and Kvyat
but
together.
no, because Sorokin has got backing from SMP Racing, and if Kvyat's got Russian time, they're not. They're two different organisations completely. I mean,
Collaboration.
because SMP are the WEC team and GT series, with Jensen Button as their only non-Russian driver, which I always thought was weird. And I'm just breaking
You're
the
just
microphone.
breaking your microphone. What were you doing?
I was trying to move it into a more convenient position
By breaking
Watch
it.
By
Paul
breaking
wreck
it.
the mic.
psych.
That was worth a fist pump.
Oh dear.
Other drivers.
Completely lost my thread now. Other drivers. Now, Stoffel Van Dorn is being courted by a couple of IndyCar teams. Dale Coyne Racing and Schmidt Peterson.
This also means McLaren isn't going into IndyCar. Because if McLaren was going into IndyCar,
They'd take Stoffel.
they'd
with
take
them.
Stoffel with them.
Good theory. And if McLaren,
I agree
if
with
McLaren
Lee's
was going
theory.
into IndyCar, they would have done something about it
Yeah.
by now, surely.
Yeah, I agree with Lee's theory completely.
I think someone in the McLaren boardroom has turned around and said, fucking hell, lads, let's sort our Formula One team out before we put a full-time fucking IndyCar race bid in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know that McLaren Senna we've just put on the road? Yeah. Can we sort our race car out first? Who was it? There was somebody who said, wasn't there, that McLaren have never had a positive season when they've released a road car in the same year. It's just and their road car thing has taken off completely, hasn't it? From being like a tiny little sort of bespoke manufacturer, they're now producing like hundreds, if not thousands, of cars a year.
Yeah.
And it's now just like, what's more important, guys? Producing road cars
Yeah.
or being a racing team?
I still say the McLaren Senna that we saw when we went to the Technology Centre back in February is the best McLaren we've actually seen all year.
Yes. Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Just wish I
Yeah.
could have got my phone out quick enough to get a photo of it.
I know, yeah.
There
well,
are videos on YouTube of people driving McLaren Sennas around places like Estoril.
Anyone with an Xbox that's interested, it's the one for the Forza Horizons demo. That's the car you get for the demo.
Is it?
Yeah, Forza Horizon looks fucking ace.
You need a video game podcast to talk about things like
I
that.
do.
Maybe you should start one.
Maybe I have done.
Or continue one.
Maybe it's called Start Continue. Maybe you should go and look for it right now on iTunes and everything else
After
that you get
after-
podcasts.
After you've
After this
finished
one's
listening
No,
to
no,
this.
no. Like they've downloaded this. We've won, so they can they can pause this and go to the search thing and go and search for Start Continue. When you've done that, you search for Must See Audio as well, and you get lots more me. Everybody wants more me, Paul. Carry on.
I was just about to issue the standard health warning. Lee responsibly.
No, that's the boring way to leave. Lee recklessly. Lee dangerously.
Zero Lee at the wheel. Do we think IndyCar will be a good move for Van Dorn? Trying to bring it back on track.
Have you seen the crashes?
I think Van Dorn is a good driver. I just think he's one of those drivers who excels in every in every discipline up to Formula One, gets to Formula One and is given a world champion driver who he's
And a bad car.
and a bad car. Yeah, he's not going to be able to.
I think he's been a bit broken this year.
Yeah,
That's like describing a band as they're good at what they do.
No, but when you think about it, everything he's won in has been a spec series. So if you pretty much a spec series, am I right?
well, he was pretty good towards the back end of Super Formula when
Yeah.
he got his stuff together. You know, he was
Which is a spec series.
Yeah.
Yeah, he ripped apart GP2, nearly won it the
Absolutely.
first year,
Yeah.
and just missed out the first year, and then tore it apart the second
And he
year.
only did half the year, didn't he? The first year, he didn't do the
He
full
didn't do
season.
the full season. He nearly won it, and then he won the second year. He was in GP2.
So he's
F2.
used to being the best driver of the drivers around him if he's winning in spec series. So, you know, there's clearly something there. I think what we were talking about and going back to McLaren as a test driver for a year, that's the best move.
That's another option for him. Apparently, he's
Maybe IndyCar is a good move because that is a spec series.
So I don't think Sainz is going to work out in McLaren.
because Van Dorn thinks that he's taking an inspiration from Magnussen. He says, maybe a year out's not such a bad thing. We're talking about Kvyat having a year out before and coming back could be a good thing.
Look
But
at Grosjean.
Grosjean.
Yeah. Not
All
sure
right.
it was a great thing, but
No,
he still
but-
made a career out of it.
Yeah, he's still somehow in Formula One,
Yeah.
despite trying to kill all the world champions.
Occasionally he's on the track.
Yeah. Sometimes he even gets out at the beginning of the race.
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your Grosjean is tonight?
Be More Grosjean is a T-shirt that needs to be made, isn't it?
I'll get on it.
Be More Grosjean.
If anyone would like to send me font advice, seeing as every time I release a new T-shirt, there's always a comment about the fonts that I use.
Just do Comic Sans. If you're going to piss people off, do it properly.
I know a really good website. I'll give you the link. It's just fonts.
Oh, right. That's what I was going to say for selling T-shirts. We've got
No,
our
no,
own
no,
one for
no,
that.
no.
No,
Fonts.
I thought you were going to say Pornhub, to be honest.
Fonts for days.
Days and days.
Days and days.
Yeah, I want to know about this too.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, talking about drivers having a year out. I mean, it worked for other drivers in the past. Felipe Massa had a year out after his first year at Sauber. Was it Sauber he was at first? I think he was at Sauber, wasn't he? Before he came back.
Yeah, I think he was sad because he was Pedro Deniz's pet project.
Yeah.
Of course, the Diniz family having all the money in Brazil at the time.
Yeah. And Fernando Alonso, of course, did a year at Minardi and then had a year out before returning with Renault.
Kimi?
Kimi did the same. Did Kimi have a year out?
2.
2 years.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
2.
Well, no, yeah, he had. But yeah, that was
He went to race NASCAR trucks. Or
And
something.
yeah, he did
rallying.
NASCAR trucks and rallies.
World Rally Champion. He's the only ex Formula One driver to have scored a point in a World Rally Championship event since Jim Clark, I think, was the last one to do
No
it.
idea.
We'll have to get Sean back on the show
Yeah.
at some point.
Yeah.
Sean will know all about this.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Raikkonen scored points in a World Rally Championship event, so he wasn't terrible at it. But yeah,
Even took part in NASCAR truck races and didn't get punched.
That was after he'd been world champion. He was 2007. Ferrari paid him to go away, if you remember.
Yeah.
So
Then they paid him to come
I'm
back.
thinking, I'm thinking of drivers who,
And then Lotus didn't pay him and he went away.
yeah, oh, suddenly I need back surgery. Really? Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it?
Shocked.
Yeah, you have to put Kovalainen in the car. Bye.
It's okay, he's finished. You don't need to change the badge.
Yeah, just the name and only the first half of it.
And realistically, the cars go really fast. I know Finnish people have really similar names.
Yeah.
Well, Raikkonen only got the McLaren drive because Mika Hakkinen was taking a year out and said, he's my replacement.
And they had too many Ks.
We've got all these Finnish badges and letters with umlauts over them. What are we gonna do, boys? So I know this other Finnish guy driving for Sauber. He's pretty good. Yeah, I was thinking of like younger drivers who took a year out and then came back. I think it didn't work for people like Luca Bedoya, who again took a year out after his year at Minardi and then some years later reappeared at Ferrari and, like Lee said, came around corners backwards.
Yeah.
Reappeared at the back of the grid in a car that was capable of winning the race.
Yeah.
Oh, to be fair, that was a dog of a Ferrari, though.
Yeah, but 7 spins, was it, at Valencia that
Yeah,
year as well?
that wasn't
He
ideal.
was last out of everyone in a Ferrari sorry. It was a bit embarrassing.
Wasn't it Ross Brawn that when Schumacher said he was going to come back and drive the Ferrari, since he rang Michael up and said, "You do realise that car's fucking rubbish, don't you?"
And then all of a sudden, Schumacher was like, "Yeah, you know that motorcycle crash I had a few weeks ago."
Ooh, that's smart.
But that was the catalyst as well, wasn't it, for Schumacher returning? Schumacher's another driver. If you want to, put Kimi Räikkönen in there, Schumacher had a few years out and then came back. He wasn't as good when he came back,
But the Mercedes wasn't the finished product at the time.
no, it was an evolution of the Brawn.
Yeah.
That was the problem with Mercedes. They evolved the Brawn until like 2012, 2013, when it started becoming a bit more competitive.
But when you see how Rosberg faced against Hamilton, I think it shows that maybe Schumacher wasn't doing too bad a job.
Yeah.
And because Rosberg was clearly better than we thought he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was lumped together with Nick Heidfeld, Nico Hulkenberg.
Yeah.
The
nearly Germans.
nearly.
I suppose he is nearly German.
Yeah. Yeah,
In his own world of disappointment.
Nico Rosberg Park had to be demolished at Nick Heidfeld's World of Disappointment when Nico Rosberg won the World Championship.
Dude, he rings him up. You've gone and screwed this up, haven't you, Nico?
Yeah.
We're supposed
You've
to
been moved to the world of appointment.
Exit through the gift shop. Oh, the gift shop's closed.
Exit through the gift shop. Everything's free. We can't give them away. No, really, we can't.
I'll just pick up this trophy on my way out.
Yeah.
I was holding it when I came in.
Nick Heidfeld's never said that.
No. Unless it was third place.
Yeah, third place maybe.
I've got a participation medal. But yeah, I think Van Dorn will do quite well in Indy, going on what you said about he does great in spec series. And Indy is pretty much a spec series. Because everyone's using the same chassis. It's regulated aerodynamics.
Yeah.
And
There's only two engines.
the only difference is, do you run a Honda or a Chevrolet? And he's going to be driving, from the looks of things, the two teams that are caught in him are pretty much up there at the sharp end. It's Dale Coyne Racing, who are cutting their field down from 3 cars to 2 next season. So this could mean 2 of their drivers will be out of a job, including a certain Santino Ferrucci. And the other one is...
no.
Oh, yes. And the other team is Schmidt-Peterson, where he'll be taking over Robert Wickens' seat, because it's more and more obvious that Wickens isn't going to be fit in time for next season, because he's only just started moving his legs again. But it's great to see that he's actually able to move his legs.
Yeah, that should have been a crash. And I don't mean this in a negative way. That should have been a crash that killed people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which
Very
just
lucky man.
goes to show the amount of safety work that's been done in single seaters.
Absolutely. Yeah. I see what you're saying about Stoffel Van Dorn. I think if he's offered the McLaren test driver over going to Indy, I think he'd take that over going to Indy.
I think
Because
they need.
it's-
I mean, they need a test driver as well. They haven't. They're going to need a reserve driver.
Yeah, Lando's stepping up from reserve driver to a seat. I'm still unsure about Sainz. A bit like you, I think Lando might end up sort of leading the team a little bit.
Yeah, I think Sainz maybe not from. Oh, see, he's going into a new team. I was going to say maybe not from the first few races, but it's going to be new to Sainz, being in McLaren.
Yeah,
Whereas it's not going to be new to Lando being in a McLaren.
Yeah, okay, it might not be Ron's McLaren, but it's still McLaren.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's still a very different operation to any other organisation he will have been used to in the past.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think the advantage Sainz has is he's done the time in Toro Rosso,
yeah.
and now he's had a bit of time in Renault, so he's seen how different teams work.
But there used to be like this air of sort of quiet confidence about Sainz, whereas now he seems frustrated.
Seems almost
and
like a zero
angry.
man.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand why he wanted to leave Renault. I know one of them had to go if they were going to get Daniel Ricciardo, but you'd think if he'd have been doing the job that we thought Sainz would have been doing, it would have been Hulkenberg that got the nerf. But he hasn't done a good enough job to get Hulkenberg.
Does that mean
to
that
get the nerf.
Hulkenberg? I mean, we'll see next year for definite. But does that mean Hulkenberg's a lot better than we thought he was?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Hulkenberg is that driver now where you go, all he needs is the car.
And I think Sainz is quite defeatist at times as well.
Do you think there's a little bit of him maybe being in love with his own name?
Possibly, but I think was it this week he said that Force India are still a threat for fourth place, despite the fact they had all their points wiped to 0 midway through the season.
I mean, that's mental. If you think, if he genuinely believes that,
Well, did I say earlier? I think Renault are on like 91 points.
yeah.
And Force India, after what was it, 3 races after they had their points wiped, are on 32.
It's quite impressive.
It's completely possible.
But it
Force
shouldn't
India-
be possible.
No. And
But
that's
the Renault is not a particularly reliable engine,
That's true.
and the
yeah.
Mercedes is. The Mercedes is probably the most reliable on the grid still. Doesn't
And
have
we've
the
been-
power that the Ferrari does anymore.
when we've been talking about the sharp end of the championship, we've been thinking, well, these are circuits that traditionally suit Mercedes powered engines.
Well, we've got six races left this season.
Yeah. Russia.
Yeah. The gap between Renault and Force India is 59 points. It's doable. You know, they're already up to 7th. They've got 32 points from the last 3 races.
And they did fuck
Yeah.
each other over the other week.
Well, yeah.
Well, fucked one. One got fucked.
I
over.
think that was Perez's fault.
Do you? Do you
Yeah.
But do you think? Do you
don't
think
think it
Ocon
was
should have
Gro-
been there?
I think he had a right to be there. Yeah, I don't think.
But you were never going to make that move. That you were on a one-way trip to the wall. I'm not saying that.
If they hadn't touched, he wouldn't have been.
Maybe I don't know.
It was only because they touched him. Perez.
I don't think they needed a touch.
No.
If he hadn't have touched, I still think he'd have had to back out or hit the wall.
He probably would have had to back out the move
Yeah.
by the next turn. But I don't think. I think if they'd avoided touching, then you'd be looking at probably Perez defending from Grosjean and Ocon, and let's be honest, probably coming out on top of into the next turn. What would have been more likely would be Ocon and Grosjean to touch. But I don't think Perez needed to jink right.
Oh no,
as-
he didn't. He hit him on purpose.
Yeah,
I'm not.
completely. For me, Perez in Singapore was as bad as Maldonado at his worst.
Yeah.
His driving, it was terrible. I'm sorry, but I don't know what Perez was thinking. When,
Conspiracy hats on. It makes you wonder why, doesn't it? Makes you wonder why that somebody that's got enough swing to help save a team and's got all that backing behind him. It makes you wonder why all of a sudden that man happens to be very hard to criticize.
Are you thinking he's maybe fighting for his seat?
No, I'm thinking that.
he thinks he's indestructible.
No, but worse than that, I think Formula One has decided not to criticize him for some reason.
Yeah, because he saved the team.
He gave himself an extra life by
Yeah.
effectively saving Force India or putting them in a position where they could be saved.
Yeah.
And don't forget, we're not talking about the Russian race just yet, but I mean, we're coming to Sochi, where Perez has scored some pretty decent points over the last few years. He didn't get a podium there last year. Was it last year or the year before?
Yeah.
Perez got on a podium, and that was, it was impressive.
When you think about it, Perez is a rare breed because he's a decent Formula One driver that comes with a chunk of cash, and they're not usually together. It's usually the drivers that come in with a chunk of cash that don't deserve to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ericsson's, Strolls,
Strolls, yeah,
maybe Sorokin. We're not sure. He might just have the backing and actually be quite
yeah.
good.
So he's actually
He's in a car that we have absolutely no idea what his level of talent is.
I mean, it
because-
could be that Stroll's pretty good. We'll find out when he's in a real car next year.
I'd be interested because he has been consistently better than Sorokin, and you wouldn't have thought that because Sorokin wasn't bad in GP2.
I mean, look at Esteban Ocon. Esteban Ocon beat Max Verstappen in a title battle before they both became came to Formula One. And everybody rants and raves about Max Verstappen. I think the four of us around the table were a little bit more grounded about Max than perhaps somebody who might be
Dutch.
yeah. But the
There's a difference between a
It's there, though,
between a
isn't
stick
it?
of dynamite and a drill, though, isn't it?
yeah.
Stick of dynamite is much more impressive, but a drill is much more useful.
Catch less fish with a drill.
You do, unless you're really fast.
Depends. If it's a cordless drill, no, it's completely pointless. If it's plugged into the mains and you throw that in the pond, I reckon you'll get a fair few
Yeah.
fish.
You try to fit a door handle with a stick of dynamite.
That's where I've been going wrong. I like the open plan look. Just doesn't work so well for the bathroom. There's also talk of Ocon going to Indy as well, which I don't know how much credence to give that one, but apparently it's the same two teams that are looking at him.
Forced to Indy.
That was me worthy.
Yeah, it was. Ocon forced to Indy.
You do realise if it does happen, that's what we're calling the next podcast episode.
Or the story. Make Sean use that headline.
Yeah.
Or if Sean's at work, you have to write that headline.
Well, if I'm at work, oh no, miracles will never.
Then I'll have to wait till I finish work and I'll write that headline.
Worthy of going on the Isle of Man newspapers billboards, that, isn't it?
It is, yeah. What have we had recently?
Man eats a lot of hot dogs very quickly.
And Earth is flat. Actual Isle of Man
Saw that.
newspaper billboards.
Saw it. It's very strange. Strange times.
Yes. But yeah, if Ocon does go to IndyCar, it will be because Van Dorn is going to be the McLaren test driver, I reckon. I can't see both of them going.
So I take it if Ocon's this like desperate to try and find a drive, then does that mean that Russell, if he doesn't get a drive in Formula One, is staying as the Mercedes reserve driver?
Russell is said he's confident he can get a drive in 2019 Formula One. The only spot really left for him is at Williams.
But that might be different because up until yesterday, because there was an interview with him in Autosport yesterday, which basically said his chances of being in Formula One next year were all but over, and he criticised Formula One because he said
There's two teams too few.
two teams too few. And I thought about what he was saying.
Not a poor argument.
It's not a poor argument, but I think it's more prevalent now because people are coming in younger and having longer careers.
Yeah.
Do you think it's also something to do with the fact that there are some drivers? Is it not more driver refinement rather than more seats? Because there are some drivers in Formula One who probably shouldn't be there. Marcus Ericsson, maybe Lance Stroll. Has Grosjean maybe had his day?
Absolutely.
In the
Grosjean had a day
90s,
last year.
in the 90s, Grosjean would have been shipped out after a couple of years.
Yeah.
Even if he'd done that 1 year, come back, and been a bit crashy, and then sort of got his head together again, he wouldn't be around now. If this was 20 years ago.
No. Not even 20 years ago. It's
You'd have been looking at him being talked about in the same terms as
Ralph Furman.
Ricardo Rossi, Tora Takagi.
Yeah. Ukio
Ricardo
Katayama.
Rosset. He who shunts last shunts hardest.
My favourite Rosset story was can't remember which race he was where he binned the car and he got a lift off one of the marshals on a scooter back to the paddock, and they had team scooters there, and the mechanics actually changed the decals on his scooter and they swapped the R and the T round and it said Tosser.
Ricardo Tosser. Yeah. He was though.
Yes,
But this is all really easily fixed, and hopefully fixed in 2021. If you have a monetary system in which it's more evenly spread and you get more money for results, then it will make more sense to have drivers in the car that can give you results.
yes,
It's like what we've always said about. There must be a point where, when you look at Williams, all right, Williams is a shit team this year. That's it. Maybe it's not the best.
They're the only
Example.
team still in single figure points.
Yeah, but it was probably a decent shout like last year. Grosjean's the perfect example this year, because it must get to the point where even if he had some sort of backing to come in with, he's cost the team more money in championship placing than he would have brought into the team.
yeah. I mean, we joked about Maldonado. Is he costing the team more in repairs?
And he did. And he came
Yeah.
in with a ton of cash.
Yeah, and but
30 million Venezuelan, or
Yeah.
$30 million, but from Venezuelan fuel.
yeah,
And yeah, there was.
And don't forget, he got some more funding at one point, didn't he? And there was no space for him in Formula One because people knew what he was going to do.
yeah. And how much in real terms has Grosjean cost Haas from his first half of the season? They could have been running away with fourth.
Yeah.
Some silly errors from Grosjean. Much like Leah said in the past, Grosjean is either slow and useless, or gets fast and a bit crashy.
Yeah. It's a shame that whatever that...
K-Mag is looking like a complete driver at the moment, and if I were Haas, I'd be signing him up for a long time because he is starting to look good.
I think he's looking like a mid-grid driver.
Oh yeah, but it's exactly what Haas need at the moment.
Are they still do you think they're still going to be a mid-grid team?
Until they can
they've performed above a mid-grid team a little bit.
Until they can get a Raikkonen, or
Maybe that's where Vettel will go when he walks out on Ferrari.
be an odd choice.
I think if Vettel walks out on Ferrari, I think he will leave the sport. And I don't think Vettel will walk out on Ferrari. I think Vettel will be pushed if he leaves Ferrari.
Vettel will go to Formula E to win some more championships.
Well, that would be a great thing for Formula E. Like I said, all that needs now, if they're going to have the cars, they're going to get rid of this silly jump out and fucking swap car shenanigans.
Which happens from the start of the next season in December, I think.
Yeah, it's not long. All they need is a couple of names. And I think we said last week on the podcast, didn't we, that they're pretty serious about trying to get Alonso in a Formula E car, but sooner rather than later.
It'd be the ultimate thing for Formula E. Get a car that looks like the Batmobile and a multiple F1 world champion driving it.
Yeah.
I'd watch it.
I mean, the 2021 concept cars that Ross Brawn came out with, Fernando Alonso said, I quite like the look of them. You're copying things from Formula Renault there, as well as a little bit of Formula E, a little bit of IndyCar in there as well. These are things that help cars race closely. So it's good to copy things, that work from other sports. That's not a bad thing.
What they should be using junior formulas for.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Their own junior formulas, like GP, F2 and what will eventually become, is it next year? It becomes international
Next
F3.
year it becomes international F3 when GP3 and European F3 merge.
Just quickly, I saw I know with Formula One, but fuck it. I saw a picture of the Formula E cars the other day.
Yeah.
Are they still using road tyres?
Yes.
Because those tyres looked big.
Yeah, the road tyres.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
but
they have to. They're racing on roads.
the thing is with Formula One,
They don't get the speed to actually get the grip from racing tyres.
I don't know. There's slower cars than Formula E cars have racing slicks.
Yeah, but they're racing on racing spec tarmac.
yeah.
The vast majority of Formula E races are racing on road circuits.
Yeah.
So they're not getting the speed on the right kind of surface for slicks to work. That's why they use road tyres.
I know you're saying about the
Do you
tyres
think
looking
is
big.
that right?
It sounds plausible.
It sounds plausible, but I think they do it for road relevance. I think they did it as like a gimmick more than thing. I don't believe that you couldn't make a slick tyre for a Formula E car,
But
and
don't
it would
forget-
default go faster because of slick tyres.
Don't forget as well, Formula One use 13-inch rims,
Yeah.
which you can't really buy road tyres for anymore because
No.
my old 414's got 13-inch rims. And I have to specially order tyres whenever I order tyres.
Yeah.
You could use Formula One tyres.
They could do. They're a bit big and too slick. But the
Get some wets.
well, they melt too quickly.
Oh, damn it.
What speed are you getting in that Cortina?
38 mile an hour is enough. when you look at like Dan's car, for example, which is what is it, like 2 years old? Not even 2 years old. Your car,
1 year old.
1 year old car. It's probably got 17-inch rims on it. You don't even realize 17-inch sounds like a big wheel, but it's not. It's a standard wheel, like road size wheel now. 17-inch.
Your car's the same age as Arthur. Let's race them.
And don't forget, this is one of the reasons why Formula One is moving to 18-inch wheels for 2021.
Yeah, exactly, and slightly lower profile tires because that nobody uses those wheel and tire combos anymore. So it's not. I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility that Formula E uses something that kind of looks like a road wheel with an actual road tire on it. Not as a gimmick, but as like, look, these are the tires. You can actually have these tires on your car.
And for cost saving as well.
Yeah, I can't help think that might be one of the things that falls away from Formula E though, eventually, because it's one of those things that sort of kind of stops it being a serious motorsport. Do you know what I mean? Like you want these cars to be as fast as they can possibly be, but then you're sticking somebody's Ford Focus tires on them.
Yeah.
Well, they're not Ford Focus tires. There would be something along the lines of. They try and sell them like you can have these tires on your car, but I mean there'll be something along the lines of like supercar tires.
Yeah. It's the same way that Formula One fuel isn't exactly
You know,
fuel.
like those P0s you can buy for your road car.
Yeah.
Depending if you've got the
Yeah.
right road car, which you can't get for less than $250,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know, and she's like, well, they're £2,000 of tires. It's like, well, no one's gonna buy them. See you
No.
later.
Yeah, but if you've got the kind of money where you can own the kind of car that will take those tires, then you will spend £2,000 on a
Yeah,
tire.
if I had the money for a McLaren Senna, I would change my P tires depending on the heat of the day. So if it was a particularly cold day, I'd probably go for the pink ones.
no, you would pay someone to do it for you because you'd have that kind of money.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't change them.
Well, you said I would change them. No,
No, I'd have
you-
I'd
you'd
have a
get-
man
you'd
chained
get a
up in the
guy.
garage.
you have anyway.
I'd have a man chained up in the garage to change the wheels of my car.
Oh, right, okay. But of course, the other question being, who is going to be supplying the tyres
To Formula E.
to Formula One?
That was
Well-
smooth. That was smooth segue.
That was like silk, that
Yeah.
was.
I thought it was, because Hankook have said that they are throwing their hat into the ring and they want to be the supplier. Now it's from
Do you
2020.
think Hankook are going in with Grosjean as some sort of marketing deal?
Hankook with Grosjean. Yes.
If they get the contract, they change the name to Hand Chef. Yeah, Pirelli, after all the complaining and bending over backwards to do what everyone wants and still getting it wrong in everybody's opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is the most thankless task in the world, isn't it? I don't know. I'm unsure whether or not I want to see a tyre war again in Formula One.
Every
I do.
year. Yeah, but
I
fucked Formula One last time.
I don't.
Fucked it.
I don't, because it'll happen like it happened before, because when...
I don't want to see USA 2005.
No,
No.
Hankook will make
Bridgestone-
tyres for one
Yeah,
team.
Bridgestone made tyres for Ferrari,
Yeah,
and everybody else had to deal with them.
yeah.
And
Or was it Jordan and who? Who was the other team that ran?
it was
Minardi.
Ferrari, Jordan, and Minardi on Bridgestones, and Michelin made tyres for
The rest of
the rest
Yeah.
the rest of the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a shadow of its former self, Jordan, as well, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it was already Midland by that point, just driving under the Jordan name because the sale went through too late to change the name.
Yeah, it was one that looked like the yellow McLaren.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't want to see a tyre war, but do Hankook actually know what they're letting themselves in for? Because the absolute ragging that Pirelli have been taking for the last 5 years at least.
I mean, what is it? How many tyre compounds are there now? 7, is it? 7 dry tyre compounds? It's too much.
Yeah, I mean, at least next season it's 3 tyre compounds that you'll see. What makes the tyres will be different every time, but
No,
at least it'll
It's
just
still 7 tyre
it's-
compounds. It's just 3
No,
names.
fuck that. They should just have 3. It doesn't matter. If everyone's in the same boat, it really doesn't matter.
yeah, but
A hard, a soft, and a medium. A medium. That's all
but
they need.
That's what's happening next season. But the composition of the hard tyre will vary from one race to another
Yeah.
because it all depends on the circuit.
Circuit, track temperature.
So
all
are they going to
sorts.
paint the Hypersofts whatever colour soft is going
Yes.
to be next
Yeah.
year?
Yeah,
There'll just be 3 colours.
No, I think this is a good idea.
It's
Because
gonna-
we
it's-
don't need to know what the
No.
things are.
No, that has overcomplicated it for the new fans trying
Yeah.
to watch.
And
Formula
that's
One.
only
why are they
been-
on pink tyres and why are they on white tyres?
And that's
What's
only
the
for
red
marketing
tyre?
as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So they can have that fucking rainbow of tyres.
yeah, Pirelli Rainbow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so next year we're just going to see hard, medium, and soft at the track.
Yeah.
Inter and wet.
Yeah. So there's going to be 5 tyres available.
I think there's an argument to be made that they need a monsoon tyre now as well.
We have had races stopped, haven't we,
Yeah.
for weather that's been too wet.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the monsoon tyre because anytime you need it,
It's
the visibility is
spray,
going to be
yeah.
too poor.
I did wonder that whether, because did you notice on the
But that's down to the aero regulations, because when it's wet, you can actually see
the rooster tail?
the rooster tail, and
Yeah.
it's the spoil air coming out the back. And that's what you've got to punch a hole through, and it's the least aerodynamic.
But I wish I'd sort of thought of this when we had Scarbs on actually. But was the concept cars weren't out then, were they? When we had Scarbs on?
No. No, it was 2 days after. Of course, it was 2 days
Yeah.
after.
Well, I noticed they had like what trims. What am I thinking over the tires?
Mudguards?
On the back
Wheel
on the
arches.
back wheels. Yeah. And I'm wondering whether that was something to do to try and help the spray in wet weathers.
Maybe,
Possibly.
but it's. Do you remember when Gran Turismo 5 came out and Adrian Newey was basically
6 years after Gran Turismo 5 Prologue.
Yeah. Adrian Newey was basically tasked with build a Formula One car, but make it go as fast as it possibly can, and we'll put it in this game. And they did the whole CFD thing, and that had wheel arches and things on it. He said your car will go faster if you've got had a canopy, like a aircraft fighter.
Yeah.
What was it? The Project X, I think it was called.
It was
wasn't
X something,
Red
yeah.
Bull Project something, yeah. But it had the 2010, 2011 livery on it, but it was what Adrian Newey said. If I could build a Formula One car without regulations, this is what I would.
Didn't he
build.
reckon he could knock 30 seconds off Silverstone or something
Something
ridiculous
like
like
that,
that?
This is what I would build, and it would be the fastest car that would be available. So I don't disagree with the whole sort of wheel arches thing.
See,
it is very IndyCar though, isn't it?
It is very IndyCar, and to be perfectly honest, like people moan. I mean, I'd be grand. I'm one of those people that like whatever happens. I'm not going to take to the fucking internet and complain about things. But to me, Formula One is open wheel racing. And loads of people kept saying, "Well, it's open cockpit racing." Now, I'd never thought about Formula One or IndyCar being open cockpit. I'd always seen it as open wheeled racing.
Yeah.
So that's the only reservation I'd have there. But again, if they helped on the back with spray, grand.
I mean, the up to last season, IndyCar had the wheel arches on the backs of the cars, and they were an absolute safety nightmare because I don't think I saw a race last season where one
Well,
of
they didn't
where one of
come
them
off.
didn't fall off.
Yeah, but the way they sort of built them around the car, I mean, it does make you get that strange IndyCar sort of wedge shape, don't you? Sort of like a
Not got it as much with this season's Aero, but
No.
up to last year they looked like giant cheeses.
I think
Yeah, they
that is negated slightly now, though, isn't it? Because you've got the halo, and we are going to go towards a future of having like some sort of aero screen or canopy Formula One. So
Quite probably.
light bits of carbon fiber coming off the car it's not the worry that it used to be.
No, but it's still gonna take you out of a race if you run over one on the circuit.
Oh yeah. But I mean, that can happen with any part of the car. That can happen with front wings.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's not going to matter much.
Or does that say that IndyCar drivers at the time were slightly crashier?
Just the nature of the beast of Indy is very crashy.
It's
isn't it?
closer racing.
Yeah, it's closer racing because it can be closer
But-
racing
and
because the
closer
car,
racing at high speed with smaller margins. So.
Yeah.
the cars are designed to be able to actually race close to each other.
We're going back to what we were saying about Hankook coming in, possibly and providing tyres for Formula One. Have they given any indication as to what their tender process would be? We just want to put it out there. We're going to have 5 compounds. We're going to have them these colours. We're going to do this. We're going to do that.
No, I
and the
think-
teams can like it or lump it. Are they going to come in hard nosed? Are they going to come in sort of soft, like, well, we just want to sort of see what Formula One wants, and we'll do whatever they ask us to.
No, there's been nothing yet, but they said that they are putting in for it, and I think it will have to be soon because they're going to have to start developing the tyres fairly quickly if they're coming in from the start of 2020.
The best thing they can do
Yeah.
if they want to come into Formula One is to watch the very end of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, from the minute where he goes and starts doing the trials.
Spoilers, still never seen it.
Because that's like every single fucking year for Pirelli.
Good, but not quite good enough. You have chosen wisely.
Best Indiana Jones film.
I will get around to watching it one day. Right, it is the Russian Grand Prix this weekend.
It is.
Is it the VTB Russian Grand Prix?
You're going to make me look up what VTB is.
No,
aren't
I'm
you?
not
It
gonna
stands for Valtteri Bottas.
That's what I feel. That's what I thought every time I saw it when we've been playing Formula Lee. And it's Valtteri Bottas.
I thought
Russian Grand Prix.
VTB was something you couldn't get rid of, but it's treatable with certain drugs.
Valtteri Bottas. Does actually sound like I'm sorry.
It's a bank because Russia has all the money.
Yeah.
I'm afraid it's Valtteri Bottas.
Yeah,
Although their
immediately-
logo in Cyrillic looks like a B, a T, and a slightly different kind of B that's been drawn badly.
Badly drawn B.
Have You Fed the Fish is still a great album.
you got a man crying his eyes and go, not Valtteri Bottas syndrome. So, I'm sorry, yes, you're going to be the upper tier of mediocrity for the rest of your life.
and very Finnish.
I don't know where to go from there.
Valtteri Bottas parties from dusk until dawn, which in Finland is about an hour.
Gonna stay up all night.
Oh, we just have.
Apart from in October, where all night lasts till March.
That was the day Kimmy tried it.
Why do you think he doesn't say much?
Never seen without sunglasses. Oh, God. So, we're back to the Sochi circuit. Now, this has been a little bit paradey before.
It's
I'm saying
done
no.
both.
Yeah, but
It's been paradey and it's been quite exciting. Was it last year or the year before? It was a really exciting race.
There was one season where all the circuits that turn out shit races
yeah,
had the most exciting races of the year.
wasn't that the first year?
Oh, was it? That wasn't last year when Sainz was still in the Toro Rosso. Was that? It seems so long ago now. Sainz was still in the Toro Rosso when he had that big accident, and he hurt his ribs.
That was the year before last, I think.
Was it?
Where it was him and Max were both in the Toro Rosso
right
at the time.
and he hurt his ribs really badly and his ankle, but he went and raced anyway.
Tweeted from hospital saying, I'm still racing tomorrow.
Yeah, tweeted from hospital, and then but he was running in some sort of heroic 5th place, and then had to retire because his engine went bang.
Yeah.
It's like that was just like one of the most heroic drives from a young driver ever.
I think it's really quite a dull race.
It's has a propensity to become quite dull. Valtteri Bottas won the race last time out. I think he's quite fond of the circuit.
Had Lewis Hamilton won the championship by then?
I don't.
No, because it was much earlier
Or was
in
it
the
much
season.
earlier? Is it?
It was while the
It was
car
like
was
fourth
still a
or-
bit of a diva.
Right.
4th or 5th race in, wasn't it, last year?
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Yeah, because of course they swapped it with Baku, haven't we?
Yeah. It's not the most exciting circuit, is it? I mean,
No,
you know,
it's a rubbish circuit.
Yeah. It's even from like a fan's point of view, you know, it reminds me a lot of the Korean circuit. Lots
Yeah.
of concrete runoff and
It's a bad Tilke day, is what it is.
Mm.
It's a bad day at the office for Tilke. I don't even know if he designed it, but
No.
it feels like a Tilke circuit. You know, like when the
Well, I think they said, here's the Olympic Stadium.
drive
Drive cars around
Yeah,
it.
obviously there's concessions that need to be made, but
well, we'll see the
it
original.
should be a Ferrari win.
Yeah, we should be. We'll see the original Putin parade again, with actual Putin probably. It's where the national anthem thing started, but at the beginning of the race, didn't it? You know, where all drivers had to be at the
Yeah.
front, and you'd have a national anthem usually, but it was just
Everyone stood by the cars.
yeah.
Only Bernie would allow Russia to use Formula One as a political tool
Yes.
Yes.
because
that's
Bernie's a
fair.
political tool.
Yeah. And it's likely to be a processional race. You would expect it to be, as you said, Leo, one of the circuits where Ferrari would expect an upper hand.
But so
But so
So
was
Singapore.
Singapore.
Yeah. If
So
it's
was Monza.
yeah,
Yeah, so were a lot of other circuits where Ferrari,
and
Hungary,
the pressure is now on Sebastian Vettel.
yeah, Hungary, Germany.
Yeah, the lid's on. The fucking hob's turned up to max.
The valve's going to blow, and before you know it, you got peas all over the ceiling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, last year Ferrari locked out the front row, and everyone said, that's it, they're going to run away with it.
And then they didn't.
And then Bottas goes and wins it. I've noticed that Sky are advertising the race this weekend as Ferrari trying to stop 6 years of hurt.
6.
Now, I don't know where they're getting this from. The only thing that I can think is that there was a Russian Grand Prix in 1913 and 1914 that were both won by Benz cars. Also in the 1914 race, the Vauxhall came second.
No, wait, hang on a second.
That's an Opel for everyone in Europe.
Did you
and a
say
Holden.
6 or 60?
Yeah, 6. The Sky trailer says Ferrari are trying to end 6 years of hurt.
6 years.
Is that 6 years since Fernando Alonso was in Ferrari?
I honestly
Is
don't.
that it? Is that what they're thinking? Like since the last?
Not since
So-
the last
I'm
Ferrari
so
win.
confused.
Yeah.
6 years of hurt.
Yeah.
See, 2008 they won. No, they didn't win the championship in 2008, did they? It was 2007.
It was the last driver title for Ferrari. Yeah.
See that? So that doesn't make sense.
So
No.
that's 11 years.
Yeah.
No, the only thing that I can think of that's got 6 years that's anything to do with the Russian Grand Prix is the last 4 years where it's been at Sochi, and 1913 and 1914 where it was in St. Petersburg.
But
And
Ferrari didn't take part because Ferrari weren't a thing in 1913.
exactly. But Mercedes-Benz has never lost a Russian Grand Prix since 1913. But that's more than 6 years.
To finish first you must form a company.
Yeah. To finish first you must think about putting a horse on the front of an Alfa Romeo and then going, you know what, I think I'll start my own car company.
Oh, who knows?
So I just wondered if any of you guys.
Nope. I'm
6
out.
years of hurt.
Yeah, and if anyone can shed.
What happened in 2012 that was so good for Ferrari?
The world didn't end.
There wasn't.
That's like the highlight for Ferrari over the last few years. Is 2012. The world didn't end.
I watched that film. I was praying for it to end.
Do you know
about
what? I
20
quite
minutes
like
in.
that film, but I do like a disaster film.
I want to throw my chair out the window. I have no idea what Sky are on about.
Please
So
don't.
if-
We're in my house.
If any, if anyone's listening can shed any light on what the hell Sky are going on about,
That makes me a little bit angry because I don't know what it means.
it must mean something.
It must do.
well, like I said, there's been 6 Russian Grand Prix. It's just that they've been spread over 115 years.
Either that, or is that is the puzzle is a cicada with the butterfly on it. Cicada in 3 numbers, isn't it? Something like that. The puzzle's been done all across the world. That people trying to solve it. It's quite a big thing. No,
No
No?
idea what you're on about.
I
here.
thought maybe they'd taken up being part of that.
I'm still really confused.
More so after my last sentence.
You're looking that confused that your forehead is actually further out of your
Is
face than your nose.
Is it not Kimi Raikkonen trying to end 6 years of hurt? Was it 6 years since Kimi last won a race? That would make sense. But then Ferrari trying to end 6 years of hurt for Kimi.
Maybe.
But there's another driver who drives for Ferrari who still has a chance of winning the world championship. So this trailer makes no sense.
Yeah, it's thrown me completely.
On to the race because it's confusing.
Where am I? Utterly clueless.
I think Ferrari are going to trip over themselves yet again.
I think something's going to happen because they're not good when the pressure's on them.
Although having said that, Ferrari aren't going to go the rest of the season without turning the screw a little bit. It might not last very long. It might just be the one race or 2 races.
But that Mercedes was matching the Ferrari pace-wise.
And Hamilton is just an extra beast mode
That's-
at the moment.
yeah.
That's the big factor at the moment. Is Hamilton is just in.
It's confidence in it. He's got the confidence to do it.
Yeah.
Like I was saying last week when you were on the show, you get this thing with sportsmen where they seem to think that maybe they've transcended slightly, and you get the feeling that that's where Hamilton is at the minute.
Yeah.
Right, be it arrogance or not, people do tend to be quite dangerous when they get into that mood.
There's no
3 more wins this season is going to evolve into pure energy.
Yeah.
there's no argument anymore, is there, against Lewis Hamilton's qualifying talent, especially after what happened in Singapore.
Yeah.
I know I missed last week's show, but I mean, if he pulls off another lap, even a little bit close to that, it's he's well above everywhere he needs to be.
I'll look into that later.
He's
Pure energy.
he's a rocket essentially, isn't he, Lewis Hamilton? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
He's a rocket that has.
Better to be a rocket than a torpedo around this circuit.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, he's a rocket that just I don't know. He keeps climbing, and I don't know who's going to bring him down. I really don't.
I don't think it's Vettel. I don't think Vettel's good enough.
At the moment, I would say he's not.
Hamilton has to lose this championship now. I don't think Vettel can win it.
You don't think Vettel?
Or Mercedes or Hamilton have to lose this championship.
You don't think Vettel can wrestle it away from
No.
Hamilton with some really good performances?
No.
I think if Vettel puts in a couple of strong performances and Hamilton has an off day when it's not the car that's the problem and it's not an accident.
Yeah.
It's just him not quite getting it together.
It just
Then-
doesn't see it.
then the pressure will be on him and-
But even so, I mean, what Hamilton has a bad day at the minute in that car. When you look at the rest of the field, he's going to be on the podium probably fourth worst. So that's gonna. Oh, it's going to take a long time for that lead to chip away if he's still scoring good points. He needs Vettel needs Hamilton to have a DNF.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even if that happens this weekend, if Hamilton collides with Bottas at the first corner and both Mercedes are out at the first corner, disaster for the Mercedes. But Hamilton still leaves Russia with a 15-point lead.
I know, yeah.
At worst.
At worst,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I don't imagine that. The Red Bull have never been on the podium in Russia.
No, that is true.
Does Vettel need to win this race? Is this the race? There's always.
I think he needs to finish ahead of Hamilton.
Yeah.
No, that he needs to win it. I mean, we could see that both of them have a first lap tangle or something, and they much like Mexico.
But that's
last year.
advantage Hamilton if they both hit each other.
Yeah, much like Mexico
Yeah.
last year when they had a bit of a tangle and they both ended up at the back of the field. If they do something like that, then it's up to Vettel to get back up the field quicker than Hamilton, and if he can't, he's got to somehow finish ahead of Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah. That's why I still think that move that Lewis did on Vettel in Monza was if we both go out of this race, it's not the worst thing that happens to me.
Yeah. And Lady Luck sort of smiled on Lewis a little bit with the way the cars touched, and in all rights, with the way that the cars were moving at the time, you would think that Hamilton would have been the one to spin around in Monza, but he wasn't. Somehow Vettel came off worst, just by slightly understeering into Lewis. Again, I'm not saying he did it on purpose. No way.
No,
I
don't think he did it on
Vettel hit
purpose.
Lewis Hamilton, but
I think Lewis knew he needed to beat Vettel. That's the thing.
It's the psychological mind games thing again, though, isn't it? Like Lewis Hamilton is brilliant at psychological mind games. He'll put his car in a position and go, much like, again, I don't mean to compare him to again, but like much like Ayrton Senna would do, and also Michael Schumacher would do it quite often as well. My car's in the middle of the track. It's up to you which side you go.
Yeah.
And if we have an accident, it's your fault.
Yeah.
And again, an accident between Vettel and Hamilton in Sochi that puts them both out of the race. It's all right for Hamilton. That's just another race.
Much worse for Vettel.
Oh yeah, it's another race off the list that he takes a 40-point lead away from Russia. If Hamilton grows his lead coming out of Russia, I don't see any way back for Vettel. Put it that way. Vettel needs. I don't think he needs to win it. He needs to take significant points off Hamilton.
Do you think Mercedes did? Because I'd only thought of this right now. At the last race, did they do like the perfect sandbag in through practice? No, because we thought Ferrari were going into qualifying, like it was a foregone conclusion Ferrari were going to lock the front row out.
And they got no cars on the front row.
I
Do you think
Don't-
Mercedes
I
knew
don't-
they had a bit extra? Not extra over Ferrari, but they were holding something back. That
No, I
yeah,
think if you
I'm,
look
I'm
at-
sure they did, but I don't think it's so much sandbagging as running a testing program that isn't pushing the car as fast as you can
Yeah.
to see how it does.
yeah, and that is
And I
a
think that's-
Ferrari issue, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's one of Ferrari's huge issues. I mean, if you look at Bottas, Bottas is probably more a better measure for Mercedes pace than Lewis Hamilton, because as we were just talking about before, he's not a god, he's a racing driver. But Hamilton is on at the moment another level for some reason in competing for a championship. If you look at Bottas's pace, he was a bit slower than Vettel in qualifying in Singapore. But I think he was just slightly faster than Raikkonen, wasn't he? I think he qualified
Yes.
fourth.
Yeah.
I think Bottas is a better measure where those cars are really close.
Yeah,
Ferrari and
yeah.
Ferrari give away a lot more, I think, in terms of when it comes to practices where they do run programs that are
Closer simulations.
close simulations that other teams, Mercedes in particular, could look at and go, we know what you're doing and we can read exactly what is going on with your car because we know what program you're running. Whereas I think Mercedes are a bit cleverer about it.
I think Mercedes are better at winning.
I think
Yeah,
Mercedes.
I know that sounds stupid, but we say that Williams have forgotten how to win.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Mercedes are just better at winning races. Their operation works smoother.
But do you remember at the beginning of the year when Ferrari did have a bit of a lead in both championships, and Sky interviewed Toto Wolff afterwards and be like, "Was that it? Is that the end of the Mercedes dominance? This is looking like Ferrari's year?" And he said, "No, I don't think so. So Ferrari have had a very good start to the year, but we're not going to lose our heads. We're not going to panic. We'll gather our resources. We'll look at where we've gone wrong." So we're not interested in what Ferrari do. We look at where we've gone wrong and see what we can change about ourselves. And now look, Ferrari aren't that way inclined.
No.
I feel they give away too much in practices. Mercedes are able to read what Ferrari are doing with the car and how much, how close to 100% that car is being pushed. Whereas I think Mercedes, as I just said, I think they're a bit clever. I think they do keep a little in reserve.
Well,
Not just to be like, ooh, let's sandbag. Like Dan said, it's a testing program. They're not giving anything away to Ferrari when they test that car.
I mean, it's practically been the mantra of the season, isn't it? Mercedes have always got something extra in qualifying.
Yeah.
And
And the race.
yeah.
I think they've spent a few years perfecting winning from the front. And the start of this year, they had to learn how to win from second or third on the grid. And I think they've done that now.
Ferrari also seem better when they have a more equal fight, it seems, this year. They don't seem to be good at winning the races they should win.
I
No.
don't know, they won Belgium, didn't they? Quite well. I mean, Vettel slipstreamed Hamilton down into the end of the Camel Straight there, and it was that was it after that.
I still think there's something on there because that.
Hamilton said there was no way I could. There was no point in even trying because he
But
would
what
have
had
just done the same
happened?
thing.
Something had happened to Mercedes there because although that Ferrari engine is, well, arguably the best engine on the grid this year, that it was like there was something wrong with Mercedes at Spa
And I also
because there was
think-
such a big performance deficit.
I also think over the course of a season, if Dan just spins his mug around a little bit, look how many races we got left. We got Russia, Japan. Sorry, Dan, you can't see this now because you just spun your mug around. Russia, Japan, USA, Mexico, Brazil, and Abu Dhabi. How many of those races are Mercedes going to push Ferrari to make sure that Ferrari turn their engine up full? Because if you get to Brazil or Abu Dhabi
And you're
and you've
taking
got to take
penalties.
engine penalties, that's going to hurt.
And-
And I think Mercedes have thought, we could probably afford not to win this race, so let's not push our cars to 100%. Strategy-wise, I think that's something that's been brought into play.
Possibly. Or could it be the other way round?
The Ferrari have pushed Mercedes.
Ferrari have said, okay, let's back off a little bit and not run the engines at 100%.
But Mercedes don't look like having any issues, whereas Ferrari are already on their last. Kimi's already on his last one, is he? Last
Yeah.
engine? He's already on his last lot of power units. I think Vettel's on his last MGUH, and I think he's got one more of all the other components. And I think Mercedes are running to schedule. They're not that worried about blow-ups at the moment.
I think the issue they've got is when you look at the races that are left.
Wasn't Lewis actually one race later for a change?
Possibly, yeah.
But when you look at the races,
Strategy.
Hamilton's always really good in the US. Like I think Hamilton's almost like what he is with Canada around the US. Abu Dhabi's always like been quite a friendly circuit for Mercedes in the past.
Oh, I don't know. 2 years ago, Lewis was really slow round there.
I know, yeah, that was true.
But he was trying not to lose the world championship, man.
Mexico seems like it would be one that's quite even.
Mexico is one that Red Bull could take points off both
Yeah.
teams.
Brazil is another one where Red Bull could get involved. You know,
Yeah.
despite this, because you've got that like big long straight and the run up the hill. But apart from that, it's like someone's dropped a curly whirly.
That sounds like a euphemism.
So you've only got Suzuka, which you look at that and go, right, well, Ferrari should be really, really strong around Suzuka. It's not like we've got a load of Ferrari circuits there. There's a mixture, and at least one race that I think Lewis is the guy that makes the difference.
I think if Vettel and Ferrari don't leave Russia having chopped the deficit to Mercedes
considerably.
and Lewis Hamilton, they're in trouble because they need a shift, and the shift isn't coming.
I think the other thing they need is they need to get some 1-2s on the board, and Ferrari seems to be struggling to get 1-2s.
So do Mercedes.
Well, yeah, but it's more important for Ferrari to get a
Yeah.
1-2 now than it is for Mercedes to get a 1-2.
Yeah, try and block off as many points away from Mercedes as they can.
And I just can't see a world where in a clean, straight fight, Kimi Raikkonen has beaten Lewis Hamilton.
It's certainly not been going on this season, and Ferrari's strategy is not to have Kimi fighting against Lewis.
No.
Ferrari's strategy this season, I'm not entirely sure what it is. Some of the time, it seemed to be screw Kimi's race up, and anything that he gets out of it is a bonus.
I can't help but feel that maybe
Screw
this is
Kimi's race up to try and
fighting
screw
over it.
Mercedes over.
Yeah, if they'd have raced because Mercedes, in all fairness, they're obviously prioritising Hamilton when it comes to strategy, but they are racing both cars to get good results for both cars, and it's helping them in the constructors, and I think it must be helping them in the race as well. It's better to have two cars up there. I mean, realistically, you want your number one car in the lead, and that seems to be taken care of without shenanigans.
Yeah, well, it helps your drivers' championship if the guy in the other team is coming third rather than second.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
So, shall we do some predictions?
yeah. I
We
think we're gonna
should.
have to. Yeah,
We should. It's going to be
From the midfield downwards, though, it's really hard to tell what's going to go on. So there's no point in even talking about that.
I
at the moment.
can't even predict what's going to happen outside of the top three teams.
No, I mean Alonso's
Well,
seventh
but-
place in Singapore was fantastic, but that was Singapore. I don't think we'll see a reply of that again.
I think Williams are going to struggle. I think Van Dorn's going to struggle. I think Alonso's going to outdrive the car in places.
No, this is a point and squirt circuit. I think Lance Stroll will be all right.
Just depends on how the car behaves.
Yeah.
Williams seems to have a better handle on the car now than they
It's-
did earlier on this season.
I think it's more the downforce as well, isn't it? You don't need a lot of downforce around Sochi, I don't think.
Not when it's dry.
Yeah, so
I was going to say the settings I've been using in the Formula League Challenge count for nothing because it's absolutely piss wet through and absolutely undrivable.
and that's a video game.
Exactly. Well, it's meant to be a simulation of real
No,
life.
it's not. It's a simulation of what it's like to be a Formula One driver. So we're going to do some things.
Predictions.
Yeah.
I've got Sean's here that she sent through earlier.
Hitters.
So she's going for a Hamilton win,
Yeah.
Bottas in second, and Verstappen in third.
First ever Red Bull podium that would be
Yeah.
if Max was to manage that. That would mean that's a disaster for Ferrari, isn't it? And a half, because at the best you're scoring 12 points, and
That's championship time there.
well then that's another 13. That would be a 53-point lead if Vettel were to finish fourth and Hamilton were to win. That's more than two races.
And there'll only be 5 left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am going to go for... I think Hamilton's going to do it again. I'm going to go for Vettel second and Bottas third. Predictable, but I think that's the way it's going to work out.
I'm going to go Hamilton, Kimi, Bottas.
See, I was going to do that.
That's a disaster for Vettel again.
You can predict the same. I mean, look at the we had 2 Grosjean podium predictions last time out.
Hamilton, Bottas, Vettel.
And that leaves you, Dan.
Right, so back in Belgium,
All right, Sherlock. I can see the
numbers Here comes logical Dan.
I was going to say, but back in Belgium, that's Poirot, surely.
Yeah, but he means back in Belgium in 1997.
I feel there needs to be some explanation and context here.
Roman Grosjean.
Back in Belgium, everyone was saying that Ferrari had the rest of the season sewn up now. Mercedes were going to be nowhere. And then there've been a few races where Mercedes have won and possibly shouldn't have done. And suddenly everyone's thinking, right, Mercedes have got the season sewn up.
Do you think the Empire Strikes Back?
I think the pendulum swings.
Which would be great for the sport.
Vettel to win, Raikkonen second, Hamilton third.
That is a massive swing back towards Ferrari.
Which is entirely possible.
Yeah.
This is possibly the most unpredictable race this season.
The Emperor
Most
will be
unpredictable
happy.
season.
Most unpredictable season this race.
Most unpredictable season this podcast has ever tried to predict.
You
Yeah.
may have a point. You may have a point. So we will be live blogging as usual. I'll be doing qualifying on Saturday, and is it going to be a full blog team on Sunday?
Yes,
I'm
I think
there,
so,
yeah.
For the first time in
A few
about
races.
4 races,
Yeah, I should be there. Should be for Russia. Yes, no, Russia.
and it's our last normal blogging time until Abu Dhabi.
Oh, what?
Early starts.
no.
Early starts coming for Japan.
Yeah, for Japan, and then it's USA, Mexico, and Brazil, which are all slightly later, which is fine.
You have to do Brazil without me. I'll be in Liverpool Airport.
Well, it'll be all right. We'll manage it. We've done it before.
Yeah,
USA,
well,
and Mexico are evening races. That's fine.
Yeah. But not normal time.
No.
They're evenings.
they're evening races. So if you can do the Cuban sandwiches again for one of them.
Oh, sure I can. Or tacos or something.
You did tacos for Mexico last year, and I think you did Cuban sandwiches for the US.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll come up with something.
Sounds good.
If they're not gonna do the national hats on the podium, we'll have national foods. So yeah, we'll be blogging that on the website at threelegs4wheels.com. Qualifying about half an hour before lights out, and the race sort of 90 minutes or so before the race starts. If you've got any predictions, let us know. Drop us a tweet at 3legs4wheels, and we'll see how right we all can be.
Or wrong we all are.
Yeah,
Yay, Danny Rick.
I bet Grosjean gets the podium this time.
nothing would surprise
Grosjean,
me.
Perez, Hulkenberg.
Ooh.
The Hulkenberg podium.
A Grosjean win.
Right, I better close this laptop because it is total shunt time.
Ooh.
It is, but I'm bailing on the one I picked because I'm convinced we've done it.
If you tell us who it was, we'll tell.
No.
I try that every week, and once it will succeed.
That's unlikely.
No, that is true. Actually,
Well, that's not ideal. The one I've just picked, he sent it, and it doesn't say who it is.
well, it doesn't actually tell you who the answer
It
is.
doesn't tell you who the answer is.
Really? There's no answer on it.
Rune Wenzel, Helms. No,
Helms.
Yeah. Send me who your total shunt was, please, mate.
That is amazing.
Help a brother out.
I should probably be pressing pause or something, but it's
Nah.
it's good to see you. Good to see that we're
Nah.
floundering.
Nah.
Yay, padding.
Oh God, that was just pictures of dinosaurs.
Is that an email from Arthur?
Right.
So this polar bear walks into a bar.
Barnaby Lee. I'm reasonably convinced we haven't done this one.
Barnaby
was-
Lee, long-time listener.
Long time listener, regular question asker,
Yes.
and he is asking the questions tonight.
Yes, he is.
I was born
Correct
start.
way. Yes, well
in
done, Barnaby.
1945.
Ooh. That's going to be tough.
Right. Why did you say I was born in 1945 and then look at me? I am not that old.
So what's
That would make me 3 years younger than me mum.
73 years.
Hashtag goer. I made my
Wrong,
first.
wrong resort. She lives in Tenerife.
I made my first Grand Prix appearance at Suzuka in 1989.
At age 44.
I think we're looking for a thing rather than a person.
Honda.
My
No,
my
no,
childhood
no.
fantasy was to become a racing driver.
I think we're veering somewhere towards a cartoon character or something. Speed Racer. Ha. I think that was their catchphrase, the only bits of the Speed Racer cartoon I've ever seen.
It's also Alan Partridge.
No, that was aha, not ha.
Oh, okay.
Nelson Muntz then?
It's all down to the inflection.
Yeah, I can go with Speed Racer.
Go with Speed Racer as a first vague stab in the dark.
Well, it's a vague clue, so yes.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go Speed Racer as a first attempt at a guess.
I've had a long-standing relationship with Ferrari and have a huge collection.
Can
Nick-
you read question 2 again?
I made my first Grand Prix appearance at Suzuka in 1989.
Nick Mason from off of Pink Floyd.
Are you about the right age?
About the right age,
Has a
owns and
massive
collects
collection of
Ferraris.
And hates Chris Evans because Chris Evans paints all of his Ferraris white.
And outbids him for certain ones that come up for
Are
auction.
we ready for number 5?
I think we are.
Despite my successful career, I have battled through drugs and alcohol addiction.
Nick Mason.
I
Pink
think we're
Floyd.
still on for Nick Mason.
Yeah.
In recent years, I have bought a boat from Bernie Eccleston.
Possibly.
I'm
Nick
sure
Mason.
lots of people have bought things from Bernie Eccleston.
I bought something from Bernie Eccleston once.
Did you?
It was F1 TV.
How did that work out for you?
No, it was rubbish. It was pants.
I reckon we're onto something with Nick Mason.
Yeah, it's got to be somebody rock and roll, isn't it? Or
Yeah.
Yeah. Could be.
Yeah. Okay, we'll throw that in as a second one.
I need to adjust this one. I've spoken to Martin Brundle on his grid walks.
yeah, I'm still sticking with it.
Yeah.
Did you put him down as a guess?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I just realised we were on question 8. I'm a long-standing Felipe Massa fan. One in every box.
Of cornflakes.
No, boxes of 300 million people.
How old is Maradona?
Not 73.
Not 73.
It's my favourite pasta sauce.
Yeah, I'm beginning to wonder now if it is.
Maybe not Nick Mason off of Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
Well, if he's a Ferrari fan, you might be a huge Felipe Massa fan.
Could be.
Possibly.
Number 9.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Ferrari have built me a custom car.
We've paid them enough money over the years. I've still got nothing else.
He's also broke the rules. Question 10 is a Spaffer clue. And question 10 shouldn't be a Spaffer clue.
Question 10
That
needs
should
to
be
be-
11.
yeah.
So now I have to go out of my way and make this fucking question hard.
Does that mean there's a Spaffer clue as well that you're going to have to make easy?
No, I did. There is. Sorry, he has given us a Spaffer clue, but unfortunately,
Is it
que-
only a Spaffer because of what we've already said?
no. Well, it could be, but question 10 is too easy.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So, would you like question 10 now? You ready?
Unless you can harden it up and then give us a Spaffer one after it.
Why is that? Why is this so easy?
Because you've got the answer in front of you. The rest of us haven't, which makes it more
This
challenging.
is true. This is true. I'm friends with a lot of musicians. I'd like a guess. I'd like your final guess
Yeah, I
and an
think
answer.
I've no better answer than what Paul said about 7 questions ago.
Can we have the Spaffer just to be...
No, because that'll give it away. I need your answer before you get the Spaffer.
I'm happy with what Paul said.
Should we,
Yeah,
stick,
shall we stick with
stick
Nick
with Nick Mason?
Mason.
I'll tell you the Spaffer now. I have extremely slow hands.
Oh,
Oh,
Clapton then.
Eric Clapton. Didn't know he was a fan of Massa.
I'm not sure he is. I thought he was a Lewis fan. Mind you, I suppose, maybe he's a big Ferrari man, so
Clapton likes
who
his
knows?
Ferraris,
She is
but-
Barnaby anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one. Wrong. Unfortunately, we got the wrong dad rock musician.
Yeah. I need a total shunt call now as well. If you've sent in a total shunt and I haven't read it out yet, just ping me one to remind me, because then that'll put your total shunts at the top of the list, because I've got fucking I do 3 podcasts, so that means now lots of people message me, lots of different things. So again, help a brother out. Oh, also as well, before we get into Formula Lee, if you add me on Formula Lee for doing the times on Xbox, make sure you add me and send me a message saying that you've added me, because I need to add you to see your times, so we all.
Oh, is it
see
is
each
it
other.
different to PlayStation?
Yeah, because you can follow somebody, you see, but they have to follow you back for you to become friends.
Ah, typical Microsoft doing things more complicated.
Well, it's silly because that's not the way they did it on Xbox, and it's a bit weird because everything else they do is better than
They do it
Sony.
for you.
Yeah, it's a shame.
But talking of Formula Lee, we've all had fun and games so far with the Williams in the wet in Sochi.
It's very difficult to drive.
It's an absolute bloody nightmare.
It's all right.
Dan's fastest. So far.
Dan's fastest at the moment, only because I got cheated out of my time, which was exactly the same as yours to the thousandth of a second.
Yeah, but Dan clearly didn't cheat. You'd still have your time if you hadn't inadvertently cheated. I know you didn't know you were cheating, but a cheater's still a cheating cheater.
And if you still had your time, you'd still be behind me.
Oh, you've improved since then.
Yeah.
Bollocks. Yeah, I'd have also still had the same setup that I used, which would have made things a lot easier. But you've still got another week until next Monday to get your times in. Like I say, it's Sochi in the wet in Williams. You can send a screenshot by email, 3legsportwheels@gmail.com. You can do it a direct message on Twitter to @3legsportwheels. If you're on PS4, send me a friend request with your real name to Pabstar, or
I've already done the same. Do the same for me. I'm LeadRun100.
on Xbox.
Yeah.
Because no point sending you a friend request on PlayStation because you haven't got the game on PlayStation.
Well, considering I just spoke for 5 minutes about Xbox, I'd like to think that maybe that message got through.
I zoned out. I think the listeners probably did as well.
Why? You weren't talking.
You can also send your times in on a direct message on Facebook if you just go to facebook.com/3legsportwheels, and you'll find us there. Like the page as well.
Yeah, come and join in. We had somebody asking if we're going to think of setting up a forum. It's kind of what Facebook is for, really. I mean, we put up a new story and guys and girls chat underneath it.
Yeah, we did have a forum on the website at one point, then we found out nobody was using it, so I deactivated it.
Yeah. So, we use Facebook as a forum, really.
Yeah.
And you guys should, if you want to use it as a forum, go ahead. We post news all the time.
Chat about it on there.
Absolutely. Argue about it.
Yeah.
In
Sha-
a sensible manner.
Yeah, Sean's doing the stories every day, so they always turn up on Facebook with a link to the main website at 3legs4wheels.com.
Yep.
Just before we go, just want to thank everyone who has donated via Patreon. You can get an extra show that we do every week, about half an hour of us just talking random ramblings.
Crap.
Yeah. Tonight there was a lot of bad
Sell it. Go
Yeah.
on.
there was a lot of bad driving comments in there
There
tonight
was a lot of bad driving.
and
comments.
bad parking.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that comes out around about the same time as the main show every Tuesday. And if you want to get in touch with us directly, you can get us at
Dan Dankleton on Twitter.
At a total shunt.
At Flood21.
and at Pablo100. We'll be back next week. Hopefully, we'll have an exciting race to talk about.
I'm dubious, but we'll see.
We will have.
I thought
a
it was just the
race
way you
to
were
talk
sat.
about.
There will be a race.
Dubious
It will
pit.
happen. Whether it's a dubious race or not, we will get to find out on Sunday. Don't forget to join us for the live blog if you're around.
Do it.
We'll see you next week.
I don't
Bye.
get, I don't get
Bye-bye.
how
Bye.
good the race is. The best thing that's happened this week is Joaquin Phoenix.